There's certain books that can best be described as simply delightful. And for me, one of those books is The Hobbit, written by J.R.R. Tolkien and published in 1937 as his debut into what is widely hailed and considered the greatest fantasy world ever created, that being Middle-earth. I was first introduced to the work of Tolkien through the Peter Jackson film adaptations of Lord of the Rings when I was a child, and once I finally got around to reading, the Lord of the Rings books were a little inaccessible for my reading level, but The Hobbit was just perfect for where I was at and is still today something that I prefer to read over such dense works of fiction. I was such a fan of The Hobbit that when it came around for the film adaptations in the early 2010s, I showed up to the premieres being the third person in line for the first two films dressed in character. And that was before Christ, so not something I would do today, but it's just an example of how meaningful that book was and still is today to me. This book has remained my favorite source of escapism from reality. One, because of the aforementioned accessibility, but although simple, it is by no means devoid of great meaning and complex characters. And what I love about Tolkien as a writer is that his stories seamlessly map onto whatever might be going on in my life when I read them or watch the movies for that matter. The characters are both grounded in reality, being tempted by power, yet idyllic when it counts, making the hard choices to do what is right. Bilbo starts out his adventure begrudgingly, the choice not really being his to begin with. Yet through the journey, he learns the principles of mercy when confronted with taking the life of Gollum, compassion when giving the prison keys to the elf guard who fell into a drunken stupor while on watch, so that he would not receive the just consequence of Bilbo and the dwarves escaping. Or towards the end of the novel, when Bilbo goes against his companions, when their leader Thorin becomes possessed by greed and is hell-bent on fighting an unjust battle. This is principle being displayed in morally complex scenarios that challenge and engross the reader to not only invest more into the story, but also reflect on how he or she might react in a similar situation, making it my all-time favorite book outside of the Bible. It is, to be frank, simply a delight.